A newborn abandoned to freeze in the unforgiving jungle mud. A terrifying, 400-pound silverback looming over the dying infant. Nature demanded death, but what this massive apex predator did next shattered 40 years of science. The ending of this impossible story will completely break you. Imagine the absolute darkest hour before dawn in a place where mercy simply does not exist. It is 4 in the morning deep within the Virunga National Park in the Congo, and the fog is so incredibly dense it feels like a damp, suffocating weight pressing against your chest. The temperature plummets, stripping away every ounce of comfort and replacing it with a bone-chilling reminder that Mother Nature operates a ruthless, zero-sum enterprise. In this unforgiving theater, you either perform flawlessly, or you are erased from the earth without a trace. But what I am about to reveal to you defies every single rule written in the bloody ledger of the wild. We are about to witness an anomaly so profound, an event unseen in 40 grueling years of primate research, that it will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the primal instinct of survival. This is a story of impossible odds, a moment where the cold calculus of nature was violently overthrown. Vong Nguyen Chen 03 welcomes you to a journey into the deepest, most secretive corners of the wild. If you are ready to have your perspective on life entirely rewritten, please hit that subscribe button right now to support the channel and give us the motivation to continue bringing you these incredible untold stories. Let me pull you into the freezing mud alongside our witnesses. Dr. Sarah Collins is a tough, relentless field researcher who has traded the comforts of human civilization for decades of sleeping in the unforgiving dirt. Beside her is James, silently tracking heat signatures through an infrared lens. But they are merely the audience. The true stars of this unfolding drama are Imani, a seasoned female gorilla enduring a grueling labor, and Kubwa, the silverback. Kubwa is the undisputed king of this canopy, a massive, towering force of pure dominance whose mere presence commands the absolute silence of the forest. As the thermal cameras cut through the suffocating dark, a piercing cry shatters the heavy silence. A baby is born. We will call him Kibbo. He is loud, vigorous, and immediately latches onto his exhausted mother. His heat signature pulses with life, a prime testament to the jungle's demand for perfection. But the transaction of life is not yet settled. 8 excruciating minutes later, the impossible happens. Imani pushes one final time, and a second infant drops onto the freezing forest floor. Twins. A statistical impossibility in the wild, carrying a survival rate of absolute 0. We will call him Dogo. Unlike his brother, Dogo is tragically silent. He is tiny, frail, and motionless. Through the thermal lens, his fragile heat signature is already fading into the cold earth. The brutal mathematics of the wild dictate that a mother cannot possibly split her finite resources between 2 infants. The protocol is mercilessly simple: you abandon the failing life to save the strong. Sarah and James watch in paralyzed horror as Dogo begins to slip into the freezing abyss, destined to become a forgotten ghost before the sun even rises. As the thermal glow of the second infant dimmed into the frigid earth, the suffocating reality of natural selection descended upon the clearing. Imani, utterly depleted by the grueling labor, lay panting on the wet foliage, her massive chest heaving with every ragged breath. She cradled Kibbo, the robust firstborn, whose insistent cries demanded every ounce of her remaining energy. But her eyes, dark and heavy with an ancient, unspoken sorrow, remained locked on the motionless form of Dogo. The agony in her gaze was something Sarah would later describe as intensely, uncomfortably human. You could visibly see the invisible war raging within her primate mind, the primal, chemical urge to reach out to her dying child colliding violently with the brutal, hardwired mandate of jungle mathematics. To divide her milk and warmth in this freezing mist meant condemning both infants to death. It is a choice no mother should ever have to make, yet it is the exact crucible in which wildlife is forged. As Imani's hand trembled, inching toward the dying twin before retreating in reluctant surrender, the forest floor suddenly vibrated. The temperature in the observational blind seemed to drop another 10 degrees as Kubwa, the colossal 400-pound silverback, broke through the dense underbrush. In the strict hierarchy of mountain gorillas, the silverback is the absolute enforcer of troop survival. His duty is to the collective strength, and the protocol for a failing neonate is swift abandonment to keep the family moving away from predators. Sarah and James held their collective breath, their knuckles white as they gripped the monitors. The expectation was horrific but inevitable. Kubwa would issue the grunt to move, leaving Dogo to be swallowed by the cold and the scavengers. The tragic end of this statistical anomaly was writing itself in real time, just as the textbooks dictated. Yet, just as the final ember of hope seemed to extinguish under the silverback's massive shadow, the narrative of the wild violently fractured. Kubwa did not issue the command to march, nor did he brush past the freezing newborn as generations of evolutionary instinct commanded. Instead, this towering behemoth of muscle and raw power stopped completely, his sheer mass looming over Dogo's fading form. I need you to understand the absolute impossibility of what happened next. With a physical delicacy that defied his terrifying strength, Kubwa reached down with hands capable of snapping leopard spines and gently scooped the dying infant from the mud. The thermal camera flared, capturing a moment that literally brought Sarah to tears in the dark. The silverback sat down in the freezing rain, cradling Dogo against his massive, radiating chest. He was actively using his own core temperature as a living, breathing incubator. Imani watched, her eyes wide, recognizing the profound shift in the natural order. Kubwa rumbled a deep, resonant hum, a sound of profound soothing, and wrapped his giant arms around the frail twin, trapping the heat and shielding him from the biting Congo wind. The monitor glowed bright red where the tiny, fading heat signature was pressed against the mountain of warmth. Kubwa was deliberately, consciously choosing to defy the ruthless arithmetic of his environment. He was refusing to let the ledger close. To witness an apex alpha male suspend the ironclad laws of survival to perform an act of pure, unadulterated empathy is to realize how woefully ignorant we are about the emotional depths of the animal kingdom. He was not merely acting on instinct, he was making a choice to protect the weakest link, fracturing every scientific paradigm we have built to understand these magnificent creatures. Through the lens of that miraculous night and into the harsh light of the weeks that followed, this fragile rebellion against nature's arithmetic became a daily war of attrition. The jungle is a relentless adversary, and it does not pause its cruelty to admire a heartwarming anomaly. To keep the troop alive, they had to forage, which meant moving through dense, mountainous terrain drenched in torrential downpours. What Sarah and James documented over the next 40 days was a masterpiece of co-parenting previously thought impossible in wild primates. Kubwa, the fiercely territorial king, transformed into a devoted, sleep-deprived guardian. He carried Dogo constantly, moving with an uncharacteristic slowness to ensure the infant wasn't jostled. When it was time to feed, Kubwa would approach Imani, gently transferring the frail twin to her breast while he stood watch, absorbing the biting winds with his own broad back. Once Dogo had taken the meager milk his mother could spare, the silverback would meticulously reclaim him, pressing him back into the furnace of his chest. It was an agonizing, terrifying tightrope walk. There were nights when Dogo's movements grew so imperceptible that James was certain the morning would bring a tiny corpse. The exhaustion etched into Kubwa's face was unmistakable, his eyes were sunken, his usual aggressive vigilance replaced by a weary, obsessive focus on the tiny life in his arms. The human observers found themselves emotionally gutted, silently weeping in their tents as they watched this majestic king sacrifice his own vitality, his own comfort, and arguably his own safety, simply to buy a doomed infant one more hour, one more day of existence in a world designed to kill him. The relentless grinding of those early weeks eventually gave way to a delicate, enduring dawn, revealing a truth far more profound than mere biological persistence.
As a silverback gorilla
Today, if you trek into the deep mists of Virunga, you will not find a ghost story whispered among the leaves, you will find two rowdy, chaotic juveniles tearing through the underbrush. Kibo is a powerhouse, exactly as nature intended, but right behind him, perhaps a fraction smaller but burning with an unquenchable fire, is Dogo. He is alive. He survived the impossible odds, carried across the threshold of death by a father who simply refused to accept the cold calculations of the wild. This outcome forces a massive, uncomfortable reckoning upon those of us who observe nature from the sterile safety of our human intellect. We have spent centuries reducing the animal kingdom to a series of automated biological responses, labeling their actions as mere survival mechanisms devoid of true sentiment. But Kubwa's defiance proves that empathy, sacrifice, and the sheer power of love are not uniquely human traits. They are woven into the very fabric of the earth, pulsing in the veins of creatures who inhabit the darkest, most unforgiving jungles. This story permanently shatters the arrogant illusion that we hold the monopoly on compassion. When an apex predator looks at a failing life and chooses mercy over math, it demands that we look at the natural world, and perhaps ourselves, with a profoundly deeper reverence. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. If this story shifted your worldview even a fraction, please share it, because the world desperately needs to remember that even in the most ruthless environments, grace can still find a way to conquer the dark. The saga of Dogo's survival is not merely a heartwarming anomaly, it is a profound testament to the unrecognized emotional depth of the natural world. In the unforgiving depths of the Virunga Mountains, where evolutionary mathematics dictate that only the strong survive, a 400-pound silverback shattered centuries of scientific assumptions. Kubwa's decision to cradle his dying newborn. Using his massive body as a living incubator, and his tireless co-parenting with Imani, reveals a breathtaking capacity for empathy that we long believed was exclusively human. Through torrential rains and grueling nights, this fierce alpha male sacrificed his own comfort and safety, choosing compassion over the cold, calculated mechanics of natural selection. Seeing Kibo and Dogo thrive today serves as a living, breathing rejection of the idea that wildlife is governed solely by unfeeling instinct. It proves that the bonds of family, the instinct to protect the vulnerable, and the sheer power of love echo far beyond the boundaries of human society. This extraordinary narrative demands a radical shift in our perspective, urging us to view the animal kingdom not as a collection of biological machines, but as sentient beings capable of profound grace and sacrifice. It is a stunning reminder that even in the darkest and most brutal environments, empathy possesses the unimaginable power to rewrite destiny. True strength is not defined by dominance, raw power, or the ruthless pursuit of self-preservation, but rather by the capacity for profound empathy and the courage to protect the vulnerable. Kubwa demonstrated that the most powerful act an apex leader can perform is choosing grace over cold, calculating logic. In our fast-paced, highly competitive human world, we frequently fall into our own version of jungle mathematics. We are conditioned to prioritize efficiency, personal success, and the survival of the fittest, in our careers and daily lives, often leaving the struggling or vulnerable behind. We can apply Kubwa's lesson by actively choosing to be incubators of warmth and support in our own environments. Whether it is mentoring a struggling colleague, offering patience to someone going through a hard time, or creating a safe space for a friend facing seemingly impossible odds, we have the daily opportunity to suspend the ruthless rules of society. By sacrificing a fraction of our own comfort, time, or energy to uplift someone else, we fundamentally redefine what it means to be strong and successful in the modern world. Do you believe that animals experience love and empathy the exact same way humans do, or do you think they possess their own unique way of showing compassion? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to read your perspective, and your insights will help create a meaningful discussion for our entire community. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel to support our work. Your subscription gives us the motivation to continue bringing you more incredible, thought-provoking stories from the natural world.